He was called a madman, a warmonger, but he became the voice that refused to surrender. Winston Churchill. Before he was a hero, he faced disaster. The Gallipoli campaign nearly ended his career and his life. He warned of Hitler when no one wanted to listen. He saw the storm long before it broke. Then came the hour of maximum danger. Britain stood alone against Nazi Germany, and he had to inspire a nation not to break. His words turned fear into courage. His speeches became weapons as powerful as any gun. What makes a leader unforgettable? Is it the victories they claim, or the battles they refuse to lose? Winston Churchill was a man of contradictions. Arrogant, yet charming. Reckless, yet brilliant. A politician who spent more years in failure than in success. And yet, when the world was collapsing into darkness, it was his voice that carried a nation through the storm. This is not just a biography. This is the story of a man who shaped history not because he was flawless, but because he was relentless. So stay with me, because Churchill's life proves one thing. Failure is never final if you refuse to surrender. Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill was born on November 30th, 1874, inside Blenheim Palace, one of England's grandest estates. To outsiders, it looked like a fairy tale beginning. But inside the nursery, young Winston was not a happy child. His father, Lord Randolph Churchill, was a rising star in politics, but treated his son with coldness and contempt. His mother, Jenny Jerome, was dazzling London society, but rarely had time for her son. The boy who would one day command armies grew up starved for affection, writing letters to parents who rarely wrote back. At school, Winston struggled. He failed Latin, daydreamed of battles, was mocked by teachers and bullied by classmates. But buried under failure, he discovered his gift. He fell in love with words and devoured books of English history. He promised himself that one day he would join the heroes he read about. History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. He barely passed Sandhurst on his third attempt, but once inside, he thrived, becoming a top cadet. As a young officer, he chased war across continents, India, Sudan, South Africa, seeking danger like a moth to flame. But Churchill was more than a soldier. He was a writer. He published battlefield reports that thrilled readers back home and built his reputation. In 1899, his daring escape from a Boer War prison camp turned him into a national celebrity overnight. Fame was the fuel he needed for his true ambition: politics. Even in his 20s, he told friends he would one day be Prime Minister. He entered Parliament in 1900 as a conservative, but soon shocked everyone by switching to the Liberals. By 1911, he became First Lord of the Admiralty. He modernized the fleet, pushing for oil-powered ships, a visionary move. But then came Gallipoli. In 1915, his plan to seize the Dardanelles failed disastrously. Thousands died. Churchill was blamed and forced to resign. For years, Gallipoli haunted him. Friends abandoned him. Enemies mocked him. His career seemed finished. In the 1930s, he was mocked as a relic, out of touch, obsessed with the past. But he saw what others missed. He warned about Hitler again and again. "We must rearm," he cried. No one listened. Some even laughed. In 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. Britain declared war. Churchill was called back to lead the Navy. May 1940. France collapsed. Hitler swept Europe. Chamberlain resigned. The nation needed a leader and chose Churchill. He told Parliament, "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat." The country listened and believed. Summer 1940. Britain stood alone. France had fallen. Hitler prepared to invade. The world expected Britain to surrender. But Churchill would not. He gave his most famous speech, "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall never surrender." These words became a national vow. The Blitz began. German bombers pounded London night after night. Entire neighborhoods burned. Yet Churchill walked among the ruins, cigar in hand. He knew Britain could not win alone. He courted Franklin Roosevelt, writing letters, calling, begging for help. Slowly, support came. First supplies, then weapons. After Pearl Harbor, America entered the war. Churchill crossed the ocean to meet Roosevelt in person. Meanwhile, in the skies over southern England, the RAF fought the Battle of Britain. Outnumbered, outgunned, but unbroken. When the Luftwaffe was stopped, Churchill said, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." He worked tirelessly, crossing oceans to meet allies, arguing with Stalin, planning with Roosevelt. By 1944, the tide had turned. D-Day came. British and American troops stormed Normandy. Churchill watched with pride, but also anxiety. In 1945, Germany surrendered. Crowds filled the streets, cheering Churchill as the savior of Britain. But months later, in July 1945, Britain voted him out of office. The hero of the war was suddenly unemployed. He returned to painting, writing, speaking. But in 1951, at 76, he became Prime Minister again. In 1953, he won the Nobel Prize in Literature for his memoirs and speeches. The boy once mocked as a poor student had become a master of words. But age was catching up. Illness slowed him down. In 1955, he retired from politics for good. By the 1960s, his health faded. Strokes left him frail. But crowds still paused in awe when they saw him. January 24, 1965. Winston Churchill died at 90. Britain declared a state funeral, the largest since Queen Victoria. Cranes on the Thames dipped in salute as his coffin passed. The nation wept for its lion. So what do we make of Winston Churchill? He was flawed, stubborn, brilliant, reckless, but when history demanded greatness, he rose to meet it. His story proves greatness is not the absence of failure. It is the refusal to surrender. He once said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." And now, ask yourself, what could you rise from if you refused to surrender?